All right, ladies and gentlemen, final reaction for today, and I am very anxious to find out what Sukuna decides after Yuji gave him an ultimatum. So let's begin with today's chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen. Yo, peoples, Kyushu92 here. Pardon me, had a double fillet of fish meal. And Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another live reading of Jujutsu Kaisen. Last we left off, Yuji had Sukuna inside of his own domain expansion. And even Yuji doesn't fully understand the scope of this domain, as he takes Sukuna to different places from Sendai that he experienced growing up. And Sukuna's all like, what is any of this supposed to even mean? And we're all wondering the same things. We don't even know the specifics of Yuji's own domain expansion. But when they get to the end of their conversation, Yuji gives him an ultimatum. Release Megumi Fushiguro, or I'll kill you. And Sukuna doesn't respond too well to being threatened by Yuji because, you know, Sukuna doesn't get threatened by people. He's the one that makes the threats and then follows on them. So let's see what happens in chapter 266. Inhuman Makyo Shinjuku Showdown Part 37. And we have Megumi going, "You've done enough." And it shows Yuji. "I wanted to create a world that wouldn't expose Sumiki to injustice and unhappiness. And if I couldn't do that, then at least I wanted to preserve our fragile lifestyle as much as I could while I was still alive. I wanted to eat food that I'm used to making, and gaze at the laundry hanging in the sun, and see Sumiki off as she walks side by side with someone like you in the afternoon light. Then I'd think about how happy I was. You've done enough." Then it cuts to Yuji as he goes, "Gramps' sickness started as lung cancer. He rejected treatment early on because the side effects were so harsh. I'm strong, so I didn't understand the idea of refusing treatment for that reason. Euthanasia, too. That was a concept completely foreign to me. I might have been able to endure his treatment, but he must have been suffering. But after going through what we went through at Jujutsu High, and thinking of those horrors as being never-ending, I've come to understand how people like Gramps felt like when confronting harsh reality. So I guess I have no right to tell you that you have to live, Fushiguro." And then Sukuna, as we are in his domain expansion, Sukuna is back in his multi-armed state, and he immediately uses Hollow Wicker Basket. And then it shows him walking, it shows Yuji and it shows Sukuna, and Sukuna still has his hands in position for Hollow Wicker Basket to be enacted while he continues to walk towards Yuji. And they both just start walking towards each other.
Satoru Gojo developed his own method of rehabilitating its brain to reset a curse technique burnt out by a domain. Doing that now, while the brain's still affected by unlimited void, would be too risky. But Hollow Wicker Basket and Simple Domain have weaker outputs than domains that manifest mental images. Buying time until the domains can't miss attack hits would be possible, but at some point getting overpowered is inevitable. However,
Oh, wait. Wait, is this Yuji thinking this? Is this Yuji thinking this? Because I think this is Yuji thinking this because he goes, "However, Sukuna is able to offset weak point out." Let me see. I gotta go through this again. Satoru Gojo developed his own method of rehabilitating his brain to reset a curse technique burnt out by a domain. Doing that now, while the brain's still affected by unlimited void, would be too risky. But Hollow Wicker Basket and Simple Domain have weaker outputs than domains that manifest mental images. Buying time until the domains can't miss attack hits would be possible, but at some point getting overpowered is inevitable. However, Sukuna is able to offset weak output by continuing the palm signs after activating Hollow Wicker Basket, so he could keep fighting without the domain overpowering him. And then it shows geese flying through the air as both he and Yuji start fighting. And mind you, Sukuna is using his upper arms to fight Yuji while he keeps his lower arms in the fixed position so that Hollow Wicker Basket is always active. And then Sukuna looks... wait, is that Sukuna? No, that's Yuji. Yuji grabs... No, it looks like Yuji grabs Sukuna by the leg and then attempts to throw Sukuna, but Sukuna overpowers him and slams him into the ground. And when that happens, Yuji gets a face full of dirt as Sukuna comes right down on Yuji and punches him directly in the face, sending him flying off into the distance. Yeah, they go flying into the distance, and then we have Sukuna and Yuji. I don't know if he broke him out of the domain. I don't know if he did, but they might still be in it. But Sukuna's laughing.
Even I'm surprised at how furious I get when someone looks down on me. Like you with your pity. I can't wait to get payback on your beloved humans.
And then Yuji's looking at him with bloodied eyes. Like one eye is closed and it's bloodied, while Sukuna's talking down to him. Then it shows a young Megumi. What's with that look? It's lonely without you, Fushiguro. And then it shows... Sukuna kind of faltering. Like a black hole opens up underneath him, like, shadows. They open up right underneath Sukuna, and he kind of stumbles.
Malevolent Shrine got wasted, and my 10 Shadows technique has stopped functioning. So this is Megumi Fushiguro's. The boy's dismantle has breathed life back into the soul immersed in the bath.
And while Sukuna is questioning everything that just happened, he gets punched in the face by Yuji. He literally faltered long enough for Yuji to just run up and just plant one right in the schnoz and sends him flying backwards. And then Yuji's looking, and then Yuji smiles. And then Yuji starts barreling towards Sukuna and proceeds to just pepper his whole body with hit after hit after hit. And while that's happening, Sukuna is trying to, get back focus again, and he grabs Yuji by the head and proceeds to start and hold his head, and he starts hitting Sukuna over and over and over again. Sukuna starts hitting Yuji over and over and over again in the head, while Yuji's holding him by the other side of his head, and he's punching him repeatedly in the brain. And Sukuna is definitely getting hit, to the point where Hollow Wicker Basket got chipped.
I knew it. Reverse curse technique can't keep up with the boy's punches. And Hollow Wicker Basket isn't gonna last.
And then it shows that, Yuji, when he first appeared after Kinji's domain opened up, and both Kinji, Higuruma, and Yuji launched down on top of Sukuna many chapters ago, and he had this arm casing, this hand casing that encompasses his entire forearm in his hand. That suddenly shatters all of a sudden, and Yuji's back to using his normal hand. And he goes to punch Sukuna, who immediately dodges out of the way. Did Sukuna's curse technique replenish? That's Gojo Sensei's burnt out curse technique reset.
Domain expansion.
And it shows Yuji, and he's suddenly missing two of his fingers. He's suddenly missing his ring finger and his pinky finger on his left hand. And then it just cuts to this ginormous stairwell. And mind you, Sukuna is bleeding from his enlarged eye on the side of his head, and bleeding from his nose as well, and bleeding from his mouth, as he basically does a domain expansion, but with the same hand sign as Gojo when he's doing Unlimited Void. And now all of a sudden, we're inside this ginormous stairwell, this spiral staircase that goes all the way down. And at the bottom of this stairwell is one of Sukuna's fingers just bound up in wire, hanging in the middle of this stairwell. And that's the end of the chapter. Interesting. Let's go back through this. So, Megumi has awakened a little in Sukuna, even though Sukuna tried his best to immerse Megumi's soul by, bathing in cursed blood, and also attempting to plunge Megumi deeper into despair by killing his stepsister, who was, reincarnated by Yoroza. And he pretty much thought that Megumi was incapable of ever standing against him. But as this fight continued to go on, Yuji was able to resonate with Megumi inside of Sukuna, and Sukuna has begun to momentarily falter, because when he tries to go towards Yuji at one point, a big old shadow pit just opens up underneath one of Sukuna's legs and causes him to stumble. And this is when Sukuna realizes, Malevolent Shrine got wasted and my 10 Shadows technique has stopped functioning. So this is Megumi Fushigoro's. The boy's dismantle has breathed life back into the soul immersed in the bath, which is something that Sukuna has not been counting on, or even could have suspected could ever happen, because he was so sure that immersing Megumi in this bath and killing his stepsister would just make it so that he would never resist. Yet Yuji has been able to reach Megumi. However, it has come at a bit of a cost. So, while Yuji has managed to land several hits on Sukuna, Sukuna has managed to land several hits on him as well. And they're fighting furiously. Like, you see Sukuna right here while he's holding Yuji's head and just repeatedly punching directly into his head. That blunt force trauma has got to be insane. Punching directly into each other, you can see in Sukuna's eyes that, I wouldn't call it desperation, but a look of just die already, just die already, just die already. And that's the look that Sukuna has on his face. It's not a jovial look. It's not a look of confidence of like, oh, I got this fight in the bag. It is a fight of someone who just cannot shake someone who will not stop at all. And Yuji manages to not only land a hit on Sukuna, but also break through Hollow Wicker Basket, and Hollow Wicker Basket is not going to last all that long. Oh, that's where the panel was. There's a panel, and it shows slashes, and that's how he got destroyed. So yeah, Sukuna's cursed technique, he slashed straight through Yuji's, arm plating, and now Yuji's just back to using his normal arm now. But it also shows that Yuji is now missing 2 of his fingers, which should not be the case, because he always had them. As far as I know, he's always had these fingers. Yet all of a sudden they're gone. And now we're going into a domain expansion with Sukuna that does not look like Malevolent Shrine. This one was kind of confusing. I know. I'm trying to do and I'm not saying that it's too hard to understand, but I'm just trying to make, the one thing that is confusing me is they focus on Yuji's hand. Like, they focus on his left hand, and his ring finger and his pinky finger are missing. Now, were those always gone, or did he just slice those off? Seeing as how Yuji's fingers are not profusely bleeding at this point, I wonder if these are the fingers that he lost when Sukuna tried to, I wouldn't say when Sukuna ripped his pinky off in order for him to force feed it to Megumi and then take over his body. I'll have to go all the way back for that, but I wouldn't say this is a confusing chapter, but it makes me curious how Sukuna says domain expansion, and we're currently in a space that does not look like Malevolent Shrine. Not even remotely. I don't see no skulls all around. I don't see torii gates all over the place. I don't see an endless void that looks like a pit of despair. This is just an endless staircase that I'm looking at. Them holding each other's head and punching each other seems like a reference to an old Pride fight where that happened in the Saitama Super Arena. It's a legendary moment. Ah, okay. But it's interesting. Really, it's interesting. So it would appear that Sukuna has gained access to his curse technique again, which allows him to cut things. And he's cut through the armor plating of Yuji's hands, or at least one of them. And now he activates the domain expansion. And I'm curious as to what this entails. So hold on, let me look this up. JJK 266. Let's see. Not 226, 266. The chapters want to be difficult today. All right, hold on. Let me see. Okay, they don't have anything for this chapter just yet. So let me see. Let's see if anyone's written it out, because I kind of want to get a little bit of a better understanding. Kitty, it's good to see you. We're kind of getting an understanding of this chapter. No, I don't want to look at that. Let me see. I wonder if does anyone truly know what just happened with this? Let me see. Recap and spoilers. Let's see. This was 2 days ago. I'm trying to find like a good place where there's an explanation. Everybody being good and doing good today. Oh yeah, we're doing fine. We're just fine. I'm just trying to make heads or tails of this chapter. I'm trying to make sense of this chapter. And I'm trying to make heads or tails of today's chapter and get an understanding. Let me see. Okay, let's see. Yuji's domain imbues the must-hit guarantee onto all of his dismantle punches. Sukuna fires off Hollow Wicker Basket, which temporarily protects him from Yuji's must-hit punches within the domain, but Yuji starts to penetrate. And Yuji's soul does the Talk No Jutsu to Megami's soul, and it seems Megami's 10 Shadows technique starts to manifest, targeting Sukuna. Okay, that much I surmised. Just from the dialogue itself. Sukuna's burnt-out curse technique finally returns, and he activates his own domain expansion. But he notices that Yuji's missing a finger or two, and Yuji's finger is suspended in what appears to be a separate space, tied up in what suspiciously looks like some sort of ritual setup. So are those Yuji's fingers? Is that the finger that was in Yuji? Or is that the finger that was in Sukuna? See, this is where it's kind of confusing until we get like the next chapter confirmation. And I checked Reddit. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Yeah, you are right. I might as well go to Reddit to check this. So let me see what people are saying. And I'm just looking for constructive feedback here. And people are just going on about Megumi and Toto. Now people are talking about Japanese healthcare, about mangakas. Okay, let's see. Researched a bit on Megumi's domain. It's apparently trying to summon the Gasha Dokuro, basically a yokai myth from Heian era, so it would be fitting to see Sukuna versus Gasha Dokuro. I suggest anyone wanting more info to research about it, I'll share some snippets. Basically, a Gasha Dokuro is a vengeful yokai made from the bones of the deceased, which carries their resentment. The first appearance of it was made from Tada no Masakado's soldier's bones to avenge from Masakado's slaughter created by his own daughter, who was a sorceress. Okay. Interesting. Just before it's revealed that Sukuna, just before it's revealed that Yuji doesn't have any fingers. Huh. That's interesting. So, wait a minute. Okay, here's something that just came to mind, and I'm trying to make sense of this as best as I can. And let's see, strongest Gojo. Let's see. Oh, are you talking about the Don Fry versus Yoshihiro Takayama Pride fight? Oh, I see the reference. Both of these fighters in this ring are just holding on to the back of each other, and they're just hitting each other in the head, but they're not letting go. I understand the reference now. Just to be clear, Yuji's domain is still up at the end of the chapter. That's actually a good point. Cause Yuji's domain is still active. I had a moment where I was questioning whether he got knocked out of his domain by Sukuna or not, but no, they're still in Yuji's domain. Even while Sukuna's activating his own domain expansion. So I wonder what this is going to do. Now I got a clearer picture, was hard to tell on the raw photos. They're fighting in the landscape of the last chapter, aka Yuji's village, and the place is slowly getting more abstract with the chapter progressing. Okay, so that's the part that confused me. Sukuna is stalling with Hollow Wicker Basket to avoid Yuji's sure hit until he recovers his curse technique. Sukuna doesn't want to use the Gojo reverse curse technique circuit, being that the loop that allows him to recover his reverse curse technique by him being able to recover his curse technique by using reverse curse technique continuously and risk frying his brain. He is pushed to do it since Yuji broke Hollow Wicker Basket, and his reverse curse technique is useless against his attack. Seems there's a lot of people that didn't realize they are still in the domain, and that's the reason Sukuna is using Hollow Wicker Basket. And just in that end, when it is about to break, Sukuna activated his domain expansion to save himself. Yep, things just to think about the raw is really hard to understand. Hollow Wicker Basket can in fact be broken. To be fair, what can't be broken by Yuji with Strong Punch? He saw this anti-domain stuff and just punched it harder. Okay, I got an understanding. Okay, so we are still in Yuji's domain, which is why Hollow Wicker Basket is still a visible thing that we can see. But as the fight goes on, the world that Yuji's domain encompasses is becoming more and more abstract and more obscure, and Sukuna decides to go ahead and use that reverse curse technique circuit technique that Gojo used during their fight in order to not only heal himself, but also allow him to, replenish his burnt out curse techniques and also be prepared to use domain expansion again. However, my one big question is, what is the big giant spiral staircase that has one of Sukuna's fingers hanging in the middle of it? Because that is not a domain that belongs to Sukuna. That's Malevolent Shrine. And last time I checked, Malevolent Shrine did not have any pristine looking spots. So now the question is this Sukuna's or is this Megumi's? Because remember, Megumi was preparing to use a domain expansion, but he never got the chance. So could this be Megumi's domain expansion that's suddenly appearing? Crazy how Sukuna is nervous about domain. I'm reading from Reddit now. He's thinking he might falter even with domain open because Yuji is... Yeah, because Yuji's locked in even though he's dropping a domain expansion. Clearly they are up to something. Yeah, prediction of the week. Someone or something uses the finger to stun lock Sukuna and Yuji one-tap Sukuna. My bet is... There's a lot of theories here. I thought he cut his fingers off as well. At first, I thought Sukuna cut off Yuji's fingers with a freshly restored technique. Upon closer inspection, the two missing fingers are deliberately kept hidden until the reveal, which leads me to believe that Yuji's fingers have been missing this whole time. Maybe Sukuna has been in checkmate for a long time coming. Bro, if they... Wow, hold on. This person has a point. Because I was wondering, because like I said earlier, and I said this before I started reading through Reddit, Yuji's fingers were missing, but they weren't bleeding. Which means that those fingers were missing for a minute. So now the question is, why are they missing? And could this be something that was cooked up this entire time? And the fact that we're just now seeing Yuji's real hand after so long, after so many months, after seeing Yuji drop down on Sukuna after Sukuna dealt with the Kaminari dude. I know that's not his name, but dealing with him, his hands were covered this entire time, and we've never seen Yuji's fingers underneath. But we just all assumed that he still had his digits, or that's what his hand turned into because of his time with Choso. But what if that was covered up in order to give Yuji the appearance that he had all of his fingers? And it's just until this time where Sukuna destroys one of those gauntlets that we see that Yuji's missing 2 fingers on his hand this entire time, which tells me Yuji has been beating Sukuna up with less fingers than him. Yuji has been beating on Sukuna this entire time with less digits. This entire time, Yuji has been beaten on the King of Curses, hitting him with Black Flash repeatedly, and he had less fingers. That's like you're punching someone, but you're only punching them with just like half of your hand. Half of the surface area that encompasses your entire fist, and he was missing that this whole time, and he was still beating up on Sukuna. Boy not here to play? No, he's not. Yuji has been locked in since this big massive fight started. This Inhuman Makio Shinjuku showdown has been going down for like what? How many parts? Part 37? 37 different chapters for the Inhuman Makio Shinjuku showdown, and Yuji has been locked in ever since his potential has awakened, and he's been unleashing Black Flash after Black Flash after Black Flash. Yuji has become the personification of Juggernaut, of not stopping whatsoever. But I'm still curious as to why he's missing like 2 whole fingers though, because the chapter makes note to highlight the fact that he's actually missing those 2 fingers, because there's a whole panel just dedicated to just showing a light and highlighting that Yuji's fingers are gone. So now the question is, why? So remember back when Yuta and Todo and Yuji came up with a plan for Yuta to use Gojo's body to do a domain expansion and then try and get Sukuna locked into one place so that so that Hanakurusu could hit him with Jacob's ladder. Remember when everyone decided to just jump Sukuna when he was missing his arm, and they were hoping that Higuruma's executioner sword would be able to separate Megami Fushiguro from Sukuna? And this was all early on. Let's just wind the clock back a year. Let's go back a ways and think about when they were making a plan, right when they dropped down on Sukuna after Sukuna used his world-slicing cleave to destroy that Kashima. I think his name is Kashima. I'm forgetting his name. Forgive me. Kashimo. Yeah, when he created this big giant field of world dismantling cleave, and he killed Kashimo with it. Let's go back to when Yuji, Higuruma, and Kinji Akari dropped down on top of him, and Yuji had that gauntlet up. Does that mean that before everyone really got serious with fighting Sukuna, before Uroume was fighting Kinji, before Higuruma came up with the plan of trying to, take out Sukuna with his sword and everything, before everyone really started fighting, you mean to tell me that Yuji didn't have those fingers this entire time? Now the question is why? We're not going on break. We're not going on break after this. So we're getting a One Piece chapter next week, and we're getting a Jujutsu Kaisen chapter next week. I want to know what the deal is with those two missing fingers. Because that's not significant. You don't just give up digits willingly and then continue fighting. You don't just give them up. Those are fingers. You don't get those back. They don't grow back. We don't have reverse curse technique in this world. Once you lose a digit, it's gone. So why would he willingly give them up? I'm curious, but we'll talk about it later. This was a good chapter, little bit confusing, but now I've gotten a broader understanding of this chapter as a whole. I'm just curious, what is the significance of him giving up two fingers? Not just one, but two of them, and then it has been fighting Sukuna this whole time. We're gonna have to see. Depends on the surgeon. Yeah, it does depend on the surgeon. But it is not something that happens so often. It'd be all like, okay, I'm giving up my two fingers. Don't worry, I'm getting them put back on tomorrow. What? No, it's not like that. It's not like that at all. So I'm curious as to what has been done. Has this been a plan that has gone out further than even Yujo Okotsu saying like, yeah, I'm gonna take out Kenjaku, have Rita eat him so that I could copy his ability to transplant my brain to Gojo's body? Beyond all the plans that we've seen before, has this been in the works before everything else? I'm curious, but we'll find out next week. But I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. If I keep speculating, we're going to be here all day, and I got some things to prepare for, because not only do we got Sakamoto Days tomorrow. Now, if I go over here to my PlayStation, because it's on right now, I'm going to play my game here in a minute. Black Myth Wukong says that we have a day and 6 hours. So 6 hours from now, it'll just be 24 hours. So we're getting closer and closer to the release of Black Myth Wukong. But I am really looking forward to reading Sakamoto Days and then beginning Black Myth Wukong for all of you guys on Tuesday. It's going to be amazing, and I hope you are all here to enjoy it. Happy birthday to your mom again. Thank you, Kitty. I will let her know. I will give everyone's birthday wishes to her from you. I'll let her know, and I'll let her know that she's loved not only on everywhere else, but she's also loved here on this channel as well, because like I said in my post, without her, this channel would not be what it is today. I owe her everything. But I just want to say thank you for everything that you have done for me. Whether you are watching, my reaction. Maybe you're listening to it while you're doing other stuff throughout your house. Or if you've watched anything else that I've done, I just want to say thank you. You didn't have to take time out of your day to listen to some old schmo on YouTube, but I'm incredibly grateful that you decided to. So I'm done. And I'm nothing but appreciative of every single one of you. So with that being said, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples!